Okay, 42. Great real life type of problem where you'd see this being used. Okay, study compares two groups of mothers. So we got group one, group two. These are mothers with young children who are on welfare 2 years ago. One group attended training, so attended free training for a vocational at a vocational school, and the other one did not no training. I'm assuming at a vocational school they were trained on some sort of a job training or something like that. It says the study finds a significant difference, so p is less than zero point zero 0.01, less than 1%, between the proportions of mothers of the two groups who are still on welfare. The difference is not only significant but quite large. The report says that with 95% confidence, the percent of non-attending groups still on welfare is 21 plus or minus 4% higher than the group who attended. So let's see what that says. That's from 17% to 25% um, more mothers who didn't attend are still on welfare. Um, than those who attended the program. Does that make sense? So here's our confidence interval, and that interval is 17 to 25% more mothers who didn't attend are still on welfare than those who did attend the programs. Okay, the training. Okay, so that is pretty big, and a pretty big difference. So you're going to your staff on the Congress, you're going to talk to them about the plight of welfare mothers. Explain what a significant difference means. Okay, well, A, significant difference. What that means is the difference in the two groups is so great it couldn't have happened by chance. Or at least if it did, the chances of it happening are so small. Okay? Um, e, the chance of it happening um, is very small. In fact, the chance of having that difference is the p-value. That's a chance of getting your extreme value, the p-value, which is 1%. So you've got a 1% chance of this happening. So that's what we mean by a significant difference. That means the difference is so great it couldn't have happened by chance. In other words, there's some reason for it. It's significant. There's a reason for it. Okay, so that's that. Uh, B, 95% confidence. Okay, we hit on this in class a little bit. That means 95% of all samples taken will groups of all samples taken will give a confidence interval that contains the true population, in this case percentage. Okay, since we're talking percents in this context. So 95% confidence says, hey, if I take, when I'm taking samples here, right? I've got two samples for the two groups that we're dealing with. 95% of all my samples are going to give a good confidence interval, or one that actually really contains the true population percentage. So 5% of the time, 5% of my samples, my confidence interval isn't going to contain the true population proportion. So I can be pretty confident that the true population proportion is actually in that interval. It's between 17 to 25%. I'm pretty confident since 95% of all the samples are in there. Okay, does that make sense? So read that, make sure that you understand what we're saying there, okay? C. Is this study good evidence that requiring job training of all welfare mothers would greatly reduce the percent who remain on welfare for several years? Is this good evidence? Well, since the difference didn't happen just by chance, okay, there has to be a reason for it. And what would that reason be? Well, assuming there were no other big things going on, and assuming these groups were randomly selected to go into these two, um, you know, options, okay, then yeah, we could assume that this is that this would reduce the amount who remain on welfare. Okay. Now this goes back to when we talked about experiments. If you let the people select which groups they go into, then you can't really say that, because you might have all the go-getters go into group 1 and the not go-getters go into group 2, and then that doesn't mean anything, right? But if this was randomly selected, and then with this p-value, this is evidence that says, yeah, the job training really did make a difference. Okay, does that make sense? All right.